Welcome to Speedy Walkthroughs, where we show just the important stuff to beating the game. For first time viewers, this will look different to a normal walkthrough. It'll show just the essentials, so you don't need to spend a long time watching this video. Today we're playing Ys for the Master System. This is the first game in the Ys series, which is sometimes pronounced Ys or YS. It's literally just spelled YS, and often tagged with the Vanished Omens. Let's get stuck into it. Just before we start, if you end up finding this video useful, please consider subscribing to the channel as it helps out a lot. So when you boot up the game, you'll end up straight in town, and there's a few things you can do right off the bat. The main priority is to get equipped with swords, shields, and armors. And there's one thing you can do. You can go to this shop, you can then buy the sapphire ring, and then leave. What you can do with that sapphire ring is sell it at another shop in town. Now you buy that ring for 1000 gold and you sell it for 1500 gold. So you make 500 gold profit. It also gives you some experience points too. So in this game, the main thing you want are gold and experience points, and we just got a few experience points there, as well as now having 1500 gold. This lets us buy a sword, shield, and armor straight away. Now realistically, the sword is the main thing you want to pay attention to. I'm going to get a short sword here, which is sort of the worst one, and then sort of leave town and do various bits and pieces. You eventually do need to buy a sword, shield, and armor, and that's actually required to get the crystal item in the bottom left of town. But for now, we're going to get a sword and just sort of grind up until we have enough to buy a much better sword. You might wish to take a different approach, which is just buying all the sword, shield, and armor straight away, and then just grinding up from there. So to actually kill enemies in this game, it sort of follows this bonk mechanic. So you have to bonk into the enemies from usually the side or the back is best. If you do bonk them in the front, you want to do it off to the side slightly. And if you bonk them head on, then it's sort of a bit of a trade-off. It's a bit of luck as to whether you take damage or they take damage. Now, if at any point you get low on health, you can just completely stop in the field. And as long as you're standing still, you will restore health in the field. So that's a really good strategy. If you're just grinding on enemies to get experience, you can just get your health back pretty quickly. One thing that's very easy to miss is this gold pedestal. So this sits just in the right of the field here. So when you get back into town, you can sell this for 2000 gold. So a very good strategy for this game is to get the gold pedestal and then do that ring thing that I showed before. That will give you 2500 gold all up, which lets you buy a lot of goodies, much better than what I have now. But essentially what you're going to need to do is grind a lot in this game. So these enemies will give you about 2 or 3 experience points each, and you're going to have to get about 800 to get up to level 4 before you can even deal damage to the first boss. So it's a pretty frustrating game for that reason, but once you get through the grind, it is very enjoyable. So my general advice for this grind is to sit on the right hand side of the fields here and keep exiting and entering this town. When you do that, the enemies are going to respawn. There's always the dog and this person enemy here, and sometimes you can even kill the enemy which is higher up too. You just want to keep doing this over and over until you're at a sensible level. That'll gain you some experience and gold. So as you get enough gold, you want to buy better swords and armors and shields as well. Just one little thing to mention as you're grinding, this game does have a save feature. You just pause it and hit save game. That basically works like a save state. You can save anywhere you want and then just reload it if something goes wrong. Since enemies can normally kill you in one hit if you just get bad luck or whatever, basically you always want to be saving and reloading and playing it almost like you're playing with save states. And that's a general thing that's true across all of the Ys series. After about half an hour of grinding, you're going to make your way back to town. I haven't sold the gold pedestal yet, so that's what I'm going to do in this shop here. And that gets us 2000 gold. You can see now I've got 5000 gold, which is enough for that best sword in the game. That's sort of why I've grinded up to this particular point. Now I will really stress that you don't need to get this Talwell, which is the best sword in the game. I've just decided to do it in this playthrough because it's pretty strong and it's going to help out a bit later on. Turns out you get a much better sword than the Talwell pretty early in the game anyway, so it might not be worth getting that 5000 one. But at this point, I'm going to grind up enough to get a shield and armor, because I actually don't have any shield and armor yet in this playthrough. And then once we get that, we can actually start the game properly. Just remember, if you do take damage, stand still and you'll regain health. Alright, now that I've done a bit more, I'm going to go back down into town and buy an armor and shield. So you actually need the armor and shield before the lady in the bottom left of town will give you the crystal, and you need the crystal to open that first dungeon of the game. So these are absolutely required to start getting through the game. So we'll talk to the lady in the bottom left and she gives us a crystal. She also gives us more experience points, which is really great. So we say yes and yes, get the crystal, and now we're going to head back up through the fields and right into that first town. Eventually you'll come through this town here and we want to talk to a few different houses. We can say yes to this guy. You don't really need to say yes, but it's just something you can do if you want to. The main house we want to talk to is in the bottom right of town though. So we'll head to this house here, and we get the key to the temple. That's absolutely required to open the first section of the game, and that section is just straight up here. It's worth noting that there are some enemies in front of the temple here, and those enemies are pretty good to grind off. They give you 4 experience points rather than the dogs and men enemies that give you 3 and 2. But if we hit this statue, we come into the temple. Just make sure you're at that same level that I am. You will need that much health to sort of get through the game. The other thing that I'll mention is you can pick up that ruby there, and the ruby you can actually sell at the shop for some more gold. So if you're struggling to have enough gold, that's an option for you there. I'm going to make my way through the temple here, and then we're going to head up. Alright, now we're at the first boss of the game here. Make sure your maximum health is at a similar level to mine or higher. That's how you'll know what level it is. I think it's level 4, which needs 800 experience. You need that to be able to damage this enemy. And either the middle sword or the best sword will be able to damage this enemy. And you can't do it at any earlier of a level just by having the best sword. The middle sword can damage it too. Obviously the middle sword just does slightly less damage. So now we're sort of into the main heart of the temple here, and it's a pretty huge dungeon. One of our main priorities is going to be to get a key which unlocks all the chests in the game, because you probably noticed by now that when you come across chests, most of them are locked and you need a key to unlock them. So we're just going to head to the right here and then up these stairs. Now this place is a bit of a maze, so I will let it play out pretty much as is. We get the necklace from that chest there, but that's not really the main big item that we want yet. Obviously keep killing enemies as you go. Now that you have access to this area, these enemies give you much more experience than that first bit of the game. So that's the key to the prison, which will be useful, but it's not the main item we want. The main one we want is sort of in the bottom left of this room here, which is in this chest. Absolutely make sure you get that key to chest, because now you'll be able to open all the chests in the game, which is going to be very useful. In fact, at this point, if you want, you can come out of the temple and do a little side quest to get a better sword. I'll talk about that side quest a little bit later though. First thing we're going to do here is free the people from the prison. So that first prison cell just has an enemy in it. It's not really worth going into. But we talk to Fina here. And then we can go into the left prison. And get that chest in there. And then we're going to head down and get another chest through here. So it's really important to note that when we've freed her from the prison, we've actually unlocked the power ring. So if you go back in town and talk to that dude that we talked to before, he will give you the power ring. When you have that ring equipped, you're twice as powerful, so it's pretty good to have equipped. Also in that bottom left, I picked up the Mask of Eyes. The Mask of Eyes is a very special item which lets you see hidden passages. Unfortunately, when you turn it on though, all the enemies become invisible. So it's a bit of a trade-off there as to, if you leave it on, you're going to get absolutely wrecked by the enemies, but you need to turn it on sometimes to see hidden passages. There's only really 2 spots in the game where you actually use it though. Alright, so we're going to head back out to the first floor of the temple, and we're just going to go and grab a chest that has the ring mail in it. The ring mail is pretty good. If you equip that, that's going to increase your defense, so it's worth having on if you don't have any other rings available. Of course, when you get the power ring, that's going to be, in my opinion, the best one, because it just makes you that little bit stronger. But we can have the ring mail on for now. We're going to head back up into the temple, past that first boss room again. Alright, coming up past the first boss room, and we might as well equip the ring mail that we just got. And we're going to head up. Alright, now we're in that room where we got the chest key, although we're going to actually progress further this time. The temple does become a little bit of a maze. You get these statues which sort of warp you all around the place. So it's important to follow the same sort of path that I'm following through here, which is why I'm showing the whole thing. We've got these steps here, and that gets us to the next room. Now you can see just how weak we are against these enemies, so at this point it's probably not a bad idea to go and grind on some of the earlier enemies in the temple. I'm choosing to grind on these ones, but it's not that easy to actually defeat them. More often than not, you're just going to die if you try and do combat with them. Alright, so we're going to warp into that right bit there and open this chest. Gets the ivory key. You do need to grab sort of all the keys in this game, so it's worth just grabbing all these ones that I'm grabbing. We go on to the left statue, which is the main next part of the temple. Then we get a silver shield, which will increase our defense. Just be sure that whenever you get that kind of stuff, you are equipping it. Very important. And we're heading up into that next section here. This is one of the last rooms in the temple, and I'm just going to do some grinding on these enemies here. These do give you quite a bit of experience, so it's worth killing them. Just a little bit left of where we were there. I'm going to go into another room to grab another chest. I'm going to head into the statue and then just head up to grab the chest here. And we'll head back out. And the grind sort of just continues on these enemies here. So I've just spent a very long time grinding on enemies. Now we've leveled up to the right level. You want to head into this top room here and then use the Mask of Eyes next to this blue statue. That'll reveal this hidden pathway which actually leads you to the temple boss. So I'm going to turn off the Mask of Eyes so we can see everything again, and we'll head into that boss arena. The boss here is sort of this caterpillar that runs around the room. You have to hit the caterpillar on the tail. So just keep chasing it, hitting its tail, and you should be able to make it through the boss there. Yeah, I'm not at a super optimal level for this, and remember that there is the option to go out and get the better sword before you fight this boss. I'll show you in the next little bit of the walkthrough how to get the better sword, because that involves going to the mine, which we're just about to do anyway. So the boss fight just goes on like this pretty much, and once you beat it, you just finish the temple and you get the first book of Ys. You need to collect 3 books of Ys to make it to the final dungeon of the game. And then once you've done that, you can pretty much just head out of the temple and we'll go back to town. Nothing much else really interesting happens in the temple, although I will point out this interesting grind spot. It's on the second to last floor of the temple, so just before the floor where you use the Mask of Eyes. You can keep going back and forth on this statue and just killing this enemy over and over. Very good way to gain levels. Alright, with that the temple's done and we're going to head down back to town. Make sure you grab the power ring when you come through town, so I'll show you where that is. Basically, we don't need to talk to this house here, but you can just read that book of Ys that you got if you want. So there it is. But what we really want to do is head to the top left house in town. So that's just this house here, and then he's very happy, so he gives us the power ring. I would basically equip that and then just keep it equipped for the rest of the game, to be honest. It's a very good ring. Alright, with that done, we're going to head left, and then we're going to go up to the mine area. The mine previously was a bit too difficult for us to tackle, but now we're at a much better level. We'll be able to kill all the enemies in here. So this is the area that you go if you want to get that really good sword early. So basically, there are a few things to get in the mine. Sort of up the top left is a chest with the timer ring. And then if you go even further up and left from here, you're going to get another armor, which is very useful. And remember, you can grab all this equipment before you actually beat the temple boss if you're having trouble with that. There we go, silver armor, that's very good. So we can just start equipping that stuff. And we're sort of going to head up right to get to the next section of the mine. What I'd highly recommend is that you look at some of the maps that are available online. I'll link a few maps in the description to this video as well, because that'll help you navigate your way around the mine and stuff like that. Especially the last dungeon in the game is pretty easy to get lost in. So you can sort of follow the path in this video, but then use that map to supplement it as well. So with this done, we're basically finished with that first room of the mine. We're going to head through that door there. Really importantly, out of this first door, you want to go sort of left and up, and you get this Rhoda Seed. Now the Rhoda Seed is very important as an item, and it lets you get the better sword, which is great. I'm just going to head down here and grab a couple more items while I'm here. So if you want to get the good sword early before you've done the temple boss, that Rhoda Seed is the item that you want to be grabbing. Alrighty. So we're going to open that chest too and find the harmonica. The harmonica again is another required item to beat the game. And we're sort of just going to head deeper into this dungeon. We will have to jump back out of the dungeon pretty soon to go and use that rotor seed. The way that you do that is you talk to the trees in the field. Those are the big triangular trees that we were passing before. But I'm just going to grab a few different things before I do that. Again, grinding up on enemies where possible. So we get a key to Doomed there, and then we're going to go back through. Where we are here is sort of pretty close to where the final boss of the mine area is, although we're not quite strong enough to beat that final boss yet. You can see pretty much where I was there was the door to the final boss, but we're nowhere near strong enough to beat that yet, so we're going to have to come out and grind a few more levels, as well as get that good sword. So basically what you want to do at this point, or pretty much as soon as you got that rotor seed, is head out of the mine. You want to talk to this tree up the top here, and then move down and talk to the other tree. So the other tree is sort of this triangular one down the bottom left, and then you get the best sword that you can really access as yet. So we will get a better sword in the last dungeon of the game, but this silver sword is the best one we can possibly get right now. And realistically, you can get the silver sword pretty much as soon as you've beaten the first boss in the game, if you really want to just go through the mine and get that rotor seed. So it's not really worth buying the Tower, which is the best sword in town. But pretty much what we're going to do now is head back into the mine, and we're going to go up and fight the boss. You do need to be maximum level to deal any damage at all to this boss, so make sure your health bar has the maximum health being full. I think that's about 50,000 experience you need to get that. I'll point out a fantastic grinding spot, and it's just before the last room of the mine here. So this is in between room 2 and room 3, and basically if you come out of this door here, this green enemy keeps respawning. That green enemy gives you about 300 experience each time you beat it, so you're going to get to 50,000 in no time. You do want to keep continuing this grind until your health is absolutely full, otherwise you have zero chance against the boss, you just can't deal damage. Alrighty, once you leveled up, you want to head out of that grinding spot and towards the boss. As you'll see in this footage, I'm about to hit max level just before coming into the boss. There we go. And now we're ready to actually fight the boss. So your health bar does have to be at full there, and I'd recommend having that sword from the 2 trees to actually beat the boss here. Once you're ready, head into this door and the boss will spawn in. The boss is going to be just a bunch of bats, and the bats sort of converge down on a single point, which is where you need to attack the boss at. So it's a bit of randomness as to how long it takes to converge and where they'll converge, but basically once they do, you just want to hit the boss's head and feet where possible. So you just want to go through the motions and you'll eventually be done with this boss. Once you're done with the boss, you're going to get another Book of Ys. Just one little thing about dungeons, you do have to walk back out from the end of the dungeon, but it could be worth going into town and buying the wing, which lets you walk back to town. If you use the wing here, you just come straight back to town and not have to walk out of the dungeon. But town is where we're going, so we're going to head out of the mine and then back to the town. Alright, so once you're back at the entrance of the mine, you basically just want to take a left and we're going to head back to town here. Now back in town, there's a few things to do. Basically we've got everything we need in the game. But we want to go down into the bottom left building and we can. Just before we do that, we're going to buy a few different bits and pieces, like mirrors for example. Mirrors are pretty useful items, but the thing we really need to do in town is go into this house. Now that house we get another Book of Ys in. That's the same house that we got the crystal in at the start of the game, but unfortunately the lady who gave us the crystal has died. I'm now just going to go into these shops and buy the rest of the armor and shields in the game, just to sort of make it 100% complete. We have more than enough gold to do that at this point. And the very last thing you have to do in town is go up to the top right here and talk to this girl who has the harmonica. So we found the harmonica in the mine, and we give that harmonica back to her, and it won't let you into the final area of the game before you've given her the harmonica, so really important to do that. Basically what we're going to do now is head back up through the game, kind of near where the temple was at the start of the game, but we're going to go right of the temple rather than into the temple. So I will play this a little bit in full just to show you the whole way to get to that final area. Just on your way there, you do want to go into the house on the bottom right of town here and read those 3 Books of Ys that we got. So you want to read all 3 essentially, so yes, yes and yes, and select all 3 from the list. And now we should be able to enter the final dungeon of the game. So to do that, we want to head up from this town. And rather than going into the temple, just take a right here, and then you want to go all the way to the right until you get to the little house over here. With the house here, basically you talk to this dude and he lets you in. And you're trapped inside the tower. And the reason you're trapped there is because in the original version of this game it was on 2 different discs and you had to insert disc 2 for the tower. So I think they wanted you to not be able to walk back. Now this tower is confusing as heck. Basically what you'll need to do is follow the same path that I do through the tower. It's a bit of a maze. Whenever you get to these rooms here, you can go left or right, but basically you just have to walk left or right until you reach the next door. And it's always the same door takes you to the same area. So those rooms seem confusing at the start, but they're not really once you get your head around it. It basically just makes the whole dungeon take longer because you have to keep walking through those rooms. So we're going to raid all those treasure chests and then we're going to head back out. I will just skip these longer rooms. There we go. And we're back out of that section. We're then going to go left and then up the stairwell. Let's get through that room there as well. Now if you want, you can equip the Mask of Eyes here and go into a secret room. You don't really need to do this bit now, but we will need this secret room later, so it's good to remember. I'm going to head out of this room and unequip that Mask of Eyes, and then just keep heading on through the dungeon. So we've got this staircase, and then we've got another one of these long rooms connecting. So once we're done with that room there, we're going to go through here. Past those 2 doors. Up the stairs, another long room. Past that door, up these stairs. All these rooms look same-ish, but there's not a lot to them. Alright, so basically what's going to happen when you get into this room here, you're going to go straight into their trap and they put you in prison. So basically if you walk up, the dude Dogi breaks the wall and you want to talk to both people in the prison here. So Dogi gives you the statues there and you need that to get past the trap. So pretty much what's going to happen at this point is we're going to go back through the dungeon just like how we went through the first bit until we get to that bit where we were caught by the 3 statues. Instead of getting caught, now we're not going to get caught. So we're going to head up these stairs through one of these long rooms again. And then this room should look familiar here. You want to use the Mask of Eyes and go into that secret passage that I showed you before. Also re-equipping all the stuff that you have. So you talk to the person in here and they give you a necklace. You need that necklace to beat the game essentially. So we're going to put that necklace on before we go into the next room. Skip past that. Then you're going to go down. And left past these doors and then up. Now we're about to come into the room where we got captured before, but you'll see the capturing doesn't really happen anymore. So in a sec we should be into that room. And then back up here. And, oh my goodness, we don't get captured. So just make sure you have the necklace on, otherwise you will still get captured. You basically just want to keep going now. And go left and up here, you should get to a treasure chest. That treasure chest has the silver sword. Now that's not a new piece of equipment, that's actually one of the ones that they took away when they captured us, so it's good to go and get that back. You can talk to Dogi again here, but not much interesting happens. Now these enemies do walk faster than you, so they can be a bit scary. Eventually we'll get the timer ring, which can be used to make them slow down. Alright, so left through this section, go past that little alcove there, and up the stairs. We now have a boss fight. So this boss fight is like this grasshopper dude, you just want to keep walking into it and avoiding the sights. Make sure you got the power ring on to deal that little bit more damage, and make sure you got all your stuff equipped from after you got all it taken away in the prison. You get a hammer and another Book of East, and the hammer's going to be really useful for sort of making a poison hallway less toxic. We'll see later on how that works. I want to go back up through this section now. Now that chest there, we're going to get that now. Just be careful of the things. That has the silver shield. Again, that was one of the things that was taken away from us when we went to that prison. And keep heading on through. So we're going to go up into this section here. And you'll notice that I'm on the 5th pole in if we walk to the right. What you need to do is equip the hammer and use the hammer to break that pole. Now it's really easy to miss, but just remember it's this room here and it's the 5th pole in when you walk on the right. What that does is it sort of makes a room that would poison us not poison us anymore. It's supposed to have like poison gas, and I guess breaking that pole makes it not have poison gas. So this room here, normally we'd be losing health very quickly, but in this case we're not. So that's really good. We make it through the room and out that door. We're going to take a left here and talk to this dude. He has a lot to say. And up through this section. We're going to head down. And up to another boss here. So this boss again, just sort of walk around its perimeter and avoid the things that it's firing. Can be a bit tricky, this one. Once we beat that boss, we get another 2 treasure chests. We get a Book of East and we get a rod. Gonna head back out. Back through this area that we came from there. Back through past these poles. And we're going to go down rather than up here into the mirror maze. So make sure you follow the same mirrors that I'm doing here. I'm going to follow that one there. And then that one. And then that one. That gets this chest with the silver armor. You don't absolutely have to get the silver armor to beat the game, but it definitely makes it a lot easier. So this is basically the start of the mirror maze. You want to go to the right mirror and then back through the same mirror again there. And then that gets you to the end of the mirror maze. So you'll see we're about to go up the stairs here. There we go. Alright, moving down. We'll go up these stairs. There's a few different ways you can go here, but you want to go sort of down here and then down. You get that treasure chest with the battle shield in it. Battle shield's pretty good, make sure you equip that. We can go right and then through this door here. So we're going to go left through the prettiest part of the game, which is this lovely bridge here. Now what we're about to do is something pretty counterintuitive. We got the evil ring before, and we're going to equip that. But normally when you equip the evil ring, it makes you lose health and you can't take it off, so you're basically dead. But if you equip the necklace at the same time as the evil ring, you can equip the evil ring, and it also lets you open this door. You have to do that to beat the game. So necklace and evil ring, and it lets you go in here. She gives you the monocle, which you can use to read the books of Ys. Very, very important that you have that. So read the other books. Just those books that we hadn't read before. I'm actually just going to read all 5 here just for completeness. And we head back out across that bridge. Basically this part's pretty linear, so you just head back out, go across the bridge, and then come back up. Then we head back up and to the right. Now, basically we're about to do a very big backtrack, sort of near to that area where we broke the pole for the poison room. So we'll just head back down through the mirror maze here. The mirror maze, you can essentially just go up through that mirror. And then through this one. And back through the same one again to get back to the start of the mirror maze. Alright, we're going to go back through the poison room. Back across this hallway. Back up. And you're going to go up through here. Now, I reckon this is the room where we broke the pole before. There it is. So you just want to head right through this room. And then you want to take a left down here. Now, we haven't been in this area yet, but there's a character in here that we need to talk to. You can only really talk to this character after you've done that whole bridge thing with getting the monocle and everything, so it is a bit of a backtrack, unfortunately. You go left once you get into here. Talk to this dude. So this is the one you need to talk to, who gives you the amulet. We can now then head back towards the final area of the game. So we're going to head back down. Then up through this section. Past that broken pole. Then we're going to head down. That brings us back up to the poison room, which we can pass through again. Then going to head through this section. And down into the mirror maze again. It's the same path through the mirror maze as before. You just go through this mirror here, and you take the right one and back through the same one you came through before. Then we head back up through the mirror maze. Past the poles. Then we're going to go right and then left. Now basically this is a section we're in before. We're going to take a slightly different path, so we're going to go left and up rather than right. Then head down through this section here. Then up through that middle door to get a potion if you'd like. And we're just going to head up. And just this section here and go through the right door. And then up the stairs again. Gotta be careful of these enemies. Remember, you can use the timering if you need to. Just through there we get the battle armor, so you can grab that if you want and equip it. Then head back through this section. And down the stairs, up through this door. And then down through the other door. Alright, we're going to keep heading through this section up the stairs and go past one of those rooms again. Now that wall's going to break and there's heaps of enemies in there. You sort of have to wait for him to clear out before you can go in. We get the flame sword. You absolutely need to have the flame sword and make sure you equip it because you won't be able to damage the next boss without having the flame sword on you. Now there's a little bit of a weird thing about this game. With the final boss, it's actually better to use the silver sword, even though it says that it does less damage. Anyway, I'll just go back a little bit. So we're going to go through this mirror here, and then going to head down the middle door. Through the right mirror. Then sort of up the stairs here to that mirror, and then that central mirror there. This then brings us to the boss arena here with that boss that I was talking about. So you will not be able to damage this boss if you don't have the flame sword equipped. So you just want to hit the orange face at all times. When they overlap, it's a good opportunity to get lots of hits in. So with that boss done, we're going to head up through the stairs. And that actually brings us into the final area of the game. So make sure you equip the silver sword, not the flame sword. The flame sword will still damage the final boss, but it does a lot weaker. And make sure you got the power ring equipped as well. But basically the boss is going to go around the arena. And every time you hurt the boss, it's going to take away a piece of floor. So you generally want to hit the boss towards the edge of the arena rather than the middle, otherwise you might put yourself in a tricky situation. You can normally get somewhere between 3 and 6 hits every time it takes away a piece of floor, so try not to get just like a single hit off, otherwise you're going to lose all your floor before the fight's over. This is another reason why the silver sword is so good, because you want to be able to do more damage on the boss per hit, so there's less floor taken away. Well, you basically just go through this and then you're going to have the boss beaten pretty quickly. There we go. The last thing that's going to happen is it's going to drop a Book of Ys, and then all you have to do is read that Book of Ys. There we go. Book of Decked. There we go. And that's the end of the game. So this is a very enjoyable game. There's also a fun fact. You can beat the game in about 20 seconds by trying to buy the mirror a few times. Just a weird glitch with that Master System version. But this is obviously the full completion of the game with all the items collected and everything. Again, if you found this useful, please consider subscribing. It helps out a whole bunch. And thanks so much for watching.